What's going on, everyone? In this video, I am going to show you a live example of me taking on a table topics question at my local Toastmasters Club. If you haven't landed on one of my videos before, my name is Wade Patterson, and my whole YouTube channel is about helping you become a better, more impactful public speaker. And if that's something you'd like to accomplish, please subscribe to my channel, turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video on taking on a Toastmasters question. So I did another one of these videos in the past, a live example of me answering a table topics question at my local Toastmasters Club. That video should pop up in the corner, so you can check that one out as well if you want a little bit of variety. But like that video, I need to add a little bit of context about the question, because in my answer, what you're going to see in a second is that I sometimes diverge away from what the actual question is asking in order to speak for 1 minute to 2 minutes. Because let's face it, that is the purpose of a table topics answer, is that you need to stand up for 1 to 2 minutes and deliver a response. Now, of course, ideally you want to answer the question or what's kind of related to it. But the reason I give context for this one is because it's important in knowing what my answer was. And so the question was, based on the 90s TV show Fear Factor, if I had the opportunity to be in a pit with spiders, snakes, or beetles, which one of those would I have chosen? And you'll see my answer goes in a little bit of a different direction. I tried to incorporate a little bit of humor. So let's take a look at my live response, and then we'll come back and analyze how I did.
Thank you for the question, Madam Table Topics Master. Fellow Toastmasters here in person and on Zoom. I believe the television show that you're referencing is Fear Factor, which is a 90s reality TV show where you had all sorts of challenging things to do. And at the time, being 10 years old, I probably wouldn't have done any of those things. However, given the knowledge that I have now about the power of appearing on reality TV and making an impact, and knowing that Joe Rogan, the host of Fear Factor, would go on to be one of the greatest podcasters, I would have gladly done any of those things and made my mark as the greatest Fear Factor contestant ever, because I feel like it would have given me a lot of future advantages in life. Challenges like touching a spider or a snake are things that I really struggle with, just like the challenges of bungee jumping or heights. Those physical things, I'm much better at some of the other examples of risk that our Toastmaster was mentioning earlier in the meeting, things like speculative risk or other forms, because there's some form of advantage. And I think sometimes in life, the biggest risk is not taking a risk at all. Thank you for the question.
Excellent answer.
All right, there you have it. There was my answer. So let's talk about what I did well and what I maybe could have improved upon in this answer. The first thing I did well is that I got through the response. As I mentioned earlier, table topics is all about standing up for 1 to 2 minutes and delivering a response. And it is difficult because if you're unfamiliar with table topics and Toastmasters, you are asked a question and then the audience starts clapping and you have to come to the front of the room and deliver a response on the spot. And that can be an intimidating process because you can't plan for what a table topics question is all about. However, I did that. Mission accomplished. I got through the question. I responded. I think I was 1 minute 30 seconds on my answer. That's right in the sweet spot of how long you want to speak for. So that's the first thing I did well. The second thing I did well was taking a creative or a unique approach. So even though the question was, would I rather be in the pit with spiders or snakes or beetles, I sort of forgot about what that question was, but I tied in the idea that, hey, Fear Factor was hosted by Joe Rogan, who's an incredibly popular figure. And so if I had made my mark on that show in the 90s, that would have been fantastic because those were the early days of reality TV, and that might have projected me to have a career doing something in that vein. And so by taking that approach, I thought it was a creative, unique use of my opportunity to speak. I also got a little bit of laughter from the audience. So I thought that that was an overall positive job. Although I have to say, in terms of every table topics answer I've given, this definitely wasn't my best, but it was not bad. I think I did a decent job. So how could I have done better answering this table topics question? Well, the first thing we've talked about, I could have been a little bit more direct and actually answered the question that was asked with regard to which of those three would I have chosen. And for the record, the Beatles for sure, because snakes and spiders seem like they can probably kill you, whereas beetles are just a little bit gross. So that probably would have been my decision if I actually answered the question. The second thing I could have done better is incorporating the word of the day. The word in that Toastmasters meeting was anecdote or anecdotal, and there was a great opportunity with what I was talking about to inject that word, but I failed to do so. And as a Toastmaster, anytime you get the opportunity to use the word of the day, which is provided by the grammarian, you should really try to incorporate that in your speech. That was one area I failed. The last thing I could have done a bit better in terms of answering this question is having a bit more structure. So I had a creative answer at the beginning, but then I noticed I hadn't hit the green light, which is the minimum amount of time, 1 minute. And so I started to talk about the idea of physical risks. The theme of the meeting was risks, and versus things like speculation and risk on the financial side. But it was a bit disjointed, and especially going from talking about fear factor to then transitioning, it wasn't as clear and coherent as an answer as I would have liked. However, I thought the concluding sentence, talking about things I did well, the idea that the biggest risk in life is not taking any risks at all, was a nice way to end my table topics answer. But it would have been good if I would have started the speech with that, because I've talked about the power of bringing a speech full circle. So if I would have opened my answer with that line, then talked about fear factor and all those other things, and then ended it by repeating the greatest risk in life is not taking any risks at all, I think that would have had a bigger impact on the audience. In terms of what the table topics evaluator said, well, guess what? I was the table topics evaluator for that meeting, which is part of the reason I was caught a little off guard with the question, although our meeting attendance on this particular day was small, so I figured there probably would be a question coming my way. So what do I say? I've already given my feedback of what I think I did well and didn't do well. I believe I made a joke to our Toastmasters Club that I did a good job avoiding the question. So that's the feedback I got from myself, who was the table topics evaluator. And the feedback from the awe counter was that I didn't have any ahs or ums, at least that she caught in that meeting. Maybe you just watched that response and you caught something. If you did, let me know in the comments. I'm always trying to remove those filler words from my speech. But overall, I hope that this has been a good example of how to take on a table topics answer. Would love to hear your thoughts and feedback of how I did. My purpose of putting these videos out is to give you confidence that these answers don't have to be perfect, but they're examples of how I've taken them on, and I'm always looking to improve in this area. Spontaneous speaking, things that you can't prepare for, that is a big challenge, I believe, for everyone, certainly for myself. But by answering table topics questions, it certainly helps me to improve in these areas. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. Every subscriber means so much. It allows me to focus more time and energy on this channel. And regardless, I hope to catch you on the next video. People are more scared of public speaking than they are of dying. Is it just me, or is that wrong? Hey everyone, my name is Wade Patterson, and I am passionate about impactful communication. My YouTube channel has helped hundreds of thousands of people improve their public speaking skills, and I am thrilled to release my first ever course, which has taken my decade of learning about how to become a better public speaker and boiled it down to this theme of mastering the 5 essentials of public speaking. I know for a fact that if you can dial in these 5 elements and perfect them, you are going to be a phenomenal public speaker, head and shoulders above the rest, just by being aware of these things. By taking the time to digest the information in this course, practice it, and then put it to action through your speeches, you are going to become a better public speaker. As a bonus in this course, I sit down with the world's greatest freestyle rapper, Harry Mack, and one of the greatest keynote speakers in the world, Sean Kanungo, and I get their tips firsthand of what makes them incredible at what they do. If you agree that public speaking definitely should not be scarier than dying, sign up for my course. You won't regret it.